Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening and welcome back, Maverick family and new viewers from all around the world. Big night tonight, especially for Canada. It's being described as a pivotal moment, a milestone moment, a new chapter for Canada. At least that's the way some see it, as Mark Carney today unveiled a new defense industrial strategy, which will spend big bucks on arming Canada, arming up. I was thinking today, I guess we're moving past the elbows up and now we're arming up in a way that is supposed to generate a lot of new jobs as well in the face of these punitive Donald Trump tariffs, which are threatening Canadian jobs in many sectors, including and especially the auto sector. So we have that highlighted for you tonight. Also, we're going to touch on the Rhode Island hockey shooting and the transgender issue there. And that will segue into something I guess warrants attention and discussion tonight: PSYOPs, information warfare. The battle for your mind. Do you really think that you're thinking for yourself? I'm going to share some stuff with you that might make you think about what you think, and we'll get into it when we come back on the other side of this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, so right out of the gate tonight, we're going to get to these other stories, and I think for some people you'd rather have the lineup of tonight's stories inverted, but this is, I think, huge news for Canada, with the Prime Minister saying that Canada has been relying on other countries, namely the United States, for its security and defense far too heavily for far too long. And he says Canada should never be held hostage by other nations over its own security. So he was in Montreal today to unveil Canada's new defense industrial strategy, which is looking to increase Canadian firms' share of federal defense contracts to 70% over the next 10 years. And it is also looking forward or ahead to exporting or increasing Canadian defense exports by 50%. This is a $6.6 billion plan, a substantial sum by Canadian standards. And it is being described as a build, partner, and buy model to build more military equipment right here in Canada. And with the focus is to cover sovereign capabilities critical to national defense or Canada's commitments to allied nations. Let's go to Montreal and the news conference where we begin with Mélanie Joly, and then we'll pick up the Prime Minister right after she concludes her remarks.
En pleine tension tarifaire, and many workers are also affected by tariffs. So to all of you, to all the workers watching us right now, we had you in mind when building this strategy. So this is for you, for all those who want to be part in something that is greater than themselves, to build the best to equip our Canadian Armed Forces and to build Canada strong. So, without further ado, ça me fait plaisir de vous présenter celui qui a vraiment donné le leadership à cette stratégie industrielle de la défense, le Premier ministre du Canada, Mark Carney.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame la mairesse, d'être venue. Merci, Mélanie, Madame la ministre de l'Industrie. Merci tout le monde ici à ce fleuron canadien, ce fleuron québécois. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici, de retour à Montréal, d'être chez CAE, un chef de file canadien en défense qui fabrique ce dont le Canada et le monde a besoin. Ouais. Et il faut le dire, depuis des générations, les travailleurs qualifiés du Québec soutiennent les industries qui assurent la sécurité et la prospérité du Canada. Les Québécois et Québécoises savent ce que signifie construire les choses qui comptent. Le travail que vous faites ici soutient nos familles. Il renforce nos communautés qui défendent notre nation. Et nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour renforcer cette tradition. Canada's new government was elected with a clear mandate to make Canada stronger, more resilient, and more independent. We're pursuing that on every front, building affordable housing at rates not seen in generations, creating one Canadian economy, realizing Canada's full potential as an energy superpower, and striking new international agreements with reliable partners. None of these goals will come easily. All will require ambition, collaboration, and, on occasion, sacrifice. But Canadians are up for it. We know, as Melanie just said, we know that the world has changed and that Canada must change with it. Les présomptions qui ont défini des décennies de politique canadienne en matière de défense et d'affaires étrangères ont été chamboulées. Les menaces auxquelles nous faisons face sont nombreuses et se multiplient. Des incursions dans notre Arctique aux attaques visant notre cyberespace. La nature de la guerre elle-même est en rapide changement, poussée par la prolifération des drones, de systèmes autonomes et d'armes en orbite. Les théâtres de potentiels conflits se sont rapprochés de nos frontières.
He also says today that
Dans un monde plus
strategy
divisé et
will be
dangereux, le leadership canadien se
complementary,
définira non
not
seulement
competitive with
par la force de nos
the
valeurs,
U.S.
mais aussi par la
military
valeur
industrial
de notre force. Et
complex,
cette
if you will. I'm
force doit
paraphrasing.
être ciblée, renforcée et surtout canadienne. C'est pourquoi, immédiatement après les élections, le nouveau gouvernement du Canada s'est lancé dans une mission ambitieuse visant à reconstruire nos forces armées, à les réarmer et à y réinvestir. We're now on track to meet our 2% NATO target by this spring, a full decade ahead of the previous schedule. Recruitment to the Canadian Armed Forces is up by 13% since June. We've signed a series of new defense and security partnerships with allies who share our interests, who share our values and our history. And that includes the landmark SAFE agreement with the EU that the Minister of National Defense, still have your pen, that he signed with the European Union last week. Crucially, we have committed to double our defense expenditures by the end of this decade. And that amounts to an additional $80 billion over the next 5 years. In addition, as part of our NATO commitments, we will invest an additional $45 billion per year on domestic resilience, yielding both security and economic benefits. In total, over the next decade, Canada will invest $180 billion directly in defense procurement, $290 billion in defense and security-related infrastructure, and create over $125 billion in additional downstream economic benefits. L'ampleur de ces engagements témoigne de la gravité des nouvelles menaces auxquelles nous sommes confrontés. Il crée également d'énormes possibilités économiques. L'industrie canadienne de la défense emploie déjà plus de 80 000 Canadiens directement et beaucoup plus indirectement. Et il est impératif de maximiser le rendement de ces investissements de plus de 500 milliards de dollars pour renforcer notre sécurité, accroître nos emplois et notre prospérité et protéger notre souveraineté. Defending Canada means more than just increasing the size of our military. It also means the strength of our industries, the resilience of our economy, and our capacity to act independently when it matters the most. Our national security and our economic security go hand in hand. To those ends, as the Minister mentioned, we are announcing Canada's first ever defense industrial strategy. It's a bold plan to get our armed forces what they need when they need it. It's a bold plan to scale Canadian defense companies and to put hundreds of billions of dollars into strategic sectors of our economy while creating over 125,000 high-paying jobs across Canada. Its framework is simple: build, partner, buy. First, we will build in Canada and prioritize Canadian companies. As a matter of policy, military procurement in areas where we have sovereign capabilities will be directed to Canadian firms first. Where we can't build alone, we will partner with like-minded allies, helping to attract investment, transfer intellectual property, and integrate supply chains so that public dollars flow back to Canada and Canadian jobs created right here. And only after exhausting those first two options will we buy from abroad. Even then, we will ensure the maximum benefits are returned to Canada throughout the value chain, including through a modernized industrial and technological benefits regime. The centerpiece of our new approach is the Defense Investment Agency, or DIA. The DIA will streamline and speed procurement. It will cut red tape, and it will expand domestic production. It has three fundamental objectives. First, to protect Canada's sovereignty, particularly in the Arctic, by ensuring our women and men in uniform have the tools they need to defend our country. Secondly, the DIA will work to build Canadian prosperity. And thirdly, we'll work to strengthen Canada's strategic autonomy, which means our ability to act independently in a more dangerous world. We start by defending Canadians. And the truth is, over the last few decades, Canada has neither spent enough on our defense nor invested enough in our defense industries. We've relied too heavily on our geography and others to protect us. And this has created vulnerabilities that we can no longer afford and dependencies that we can no longer sustain. Alors, les processus d'approvisionnement du gouvernement sont trop longs, trop fragmentés et trop réactifs. Pour de nombreuses entreprises canadiennes, il est plus facile de vendre à des gouvernements étrangers qu'aux nôtres. Le processus actuel renforce notre dépendance aux fournisseurs étrangers et affaiblit les entreprises que nous devrions plutôt rendre plus fortes. Nous avons pris de nouveaux engagements importants en matière de défense. Nous devons faire du même en ce qui concerne nos dépenses. Our Canadian Armed Forces will be backed by a resilient Canadian defense industrial base. Every dollar will be spent to maximize jobs, careers, and industries right here in Canada. As I mentioned earlier, we'll start by concentrating on those sovereign capabilities that are critical to our ability to defend our country. These are areas where we're already strong or where we have the potential to lead. The obvious example, we're in the middle of it. Quebec and Canada have proven strengths in aircraft engines, parts, simulation. With CAE, we are the world leader in training and simulation. You are the world leaders in training and simulation. Bravo. Bravo à vous. Across Canada, we have other strengths. We produce world-class combat vehicles, munitions, and naval vessels. Et par ailleurs, le Canada développe son leadership dans des domaines qui deviendront de plus en plus essentiels à la défense, notamment l'espace, l'intelligence artificielle, la cybersécurité, la technologie quantique, les contre-mesures médicales, la robotique et les drones. Le renforcement de nos capacités souveraines et les emplois de qualité qui en découlent nécessitera divers utiles, dont notre volonté d'acheter canadien dans la mesure du possible. Our strategy rests on 5 pillars. First, renewing our relationship with industry by providing clear long-term demand signals. Secondly, procuring strategically with greater efficiency through that build, partner, buy strategy. Third, investing in innovation and workforce development. Fourth, securing supply chains. And finally, working with domestic partners, including in Canada's north. The details of these strategies are outlined in the strategy document we're releasing today, but I want to touch on one aspect that matters particularly for our long-term competitiveness and is directly relevant to the activities of CAE. This company knows that our defense sector is research intensive. It's 3 times more R&D intensive than Canadian manufacturing overall. And history shows that defense spending catalyzes innovation far beyond the sector itself. Globally, there's examples: computing, GPS, powerful cameras in our phones, all emerge from defense investment. We are going to boost government investment in defense-related research and development by 85% to help develop the next generation of capabilities in AI, in quantum, in robotics, and autonomous systems. I think we can see examples of that all around us. In part to do that, we're creating a new Bureau of Research, Engineering, and Advanced Leadership, Borealis, to coordinate and accelerate defense research and innovation in frontier technologies like quantum and AI. En somme, nos principaux objectifs consistent à augmenter les revenus du secteur canadien de la défense de plus de 220%, nos exportations dans ce domaine de 50% et à créer 125 000 nouveaux emplois directement liés au secteur de la défense. Et pour les PME, la stratégie vise une augmentation annuelle des revenus tirés de la défense de 4,8 milliards de dollars pour atteindre 4,5 milliards. Ces avantages directs auront des répercussions positives sur l'ensemble de notre économie. Chaque emploi créé signifie un Canadien ou un Canadien de plus qui bénéficiera d'une plus grande sécurité. Une famille qui se sentira moins inquiète pour l'avenir. Une économie locale qui pourra subvenir à ses besoins et offrir des possibilités à la prochaine génération. Ultimately, this strategy is about protecting Canada's sovereignty in its fullest sense. In other words, our ability to act independently in that more dangerous and divided world. And to be clear, this strategic autonomy doesn't mean isolation. It means being strong enough to be a partner of choice rather than a dependent. It means building a domestic defense industrial base so we are never hostage to the decisions of others when it comes to our security. It means diversifying our partnerships so that we're resilient against any single point of failure. And that's why the build, partner, buy framework at the heart of this strategy matters so much. When we build at home, we develop our sovereign capabilities in aerospace, digital systems, naval construction, space. Those capabilities that ensure that Canada can defend itself under any circumstance. When we partner with trusted allies in Europe, the United Kingdom, the Indo-Pacific, we access capabilities and technologies that strengthen us both. By diversifying these partnerships, we reduce our exposure to any single alliance or any single decision that we don't control. And defense depends on complex supply chains, from critical minerals to specialized components. Accordingly, we're launching the Canadian Defense Industry Resilience Program to secure key supply chains for our armed forces. Nous augmenterons la production, la transformation et le stockage des minéraux critiques pour la défense. Et nous coordonnerons notre action avec nos alliés dans le cadre de l'alliance de G7 sur la production de minéraux critiques et des efforts de stockage de l'OTAN, car l'autonomie stratégique se renforce grâce à des partenariats judicieux. Un pays souverain peut se défendre et dispose d'industries locales s'il soutient sa défense et sa qualité de vie. Un pays libre peut agir de manière autonome en faisant ce qui est le mieux pour son peuple, en faisant passer ses intérêts, ses emplois et ses aspirations avant tout le reste. C'est le Canada que nous bâtissons. So to conclude, Canada's new government came to office with a clear mandate to build a stronger, more resilient, more independent country. And today's defense industrial strategy is central to that mission. With this strategy, we'll strengthen Canadian security, ensuring our women and men in uniform have everything they need to defend our country. Nous bâtirons la prospérité du Canada en créant des emplois bien rémunérés, en stimulant la recherche et le développement, en favorisant la croissance d'entreprises canadiennes de calibre mondial et en veillant à ce que les communautés partout au pays profitent des retombées des investissements dans le secteur. In this century, the work of defending Canada is the work of building Canada. Security and prosperity aren't competing priorities. They're mutually reinforcing foundations of the true North, strong and free. They are the foundations of Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant passer à la période de questions. On va faire une question par journaliste pour donner l'opportunité à tout le monde. Première question.
Yes, Maura Forrest, Globe and Mail. Prime Minister, you've repeatedly said that 3/4 of Canada's defence capital spending goes to the United States, and we should no longer allow this. Will this new strategy reduce the share of our defence capital spending that goes to the U.S., and if so, how significantly?
Thank you for that question. Very important question, and let me start by acknowledging that there are many strengths to this partnership that we have with the United States, but it is a dependency, and it's a dependency we want to change in a positive way by building up our defense capacities here and our other partnerships abroad. I gave the example of the SAFE agreement with the European Union, which the minister signed formally last week. This is a $150 billion opportunity overall with the European Union, where Canada is in effect treated as part of their supply chain as a local supplier. To get to the point of your question, what this strategy looks to do over the next 10 years is to move the domestic procurement to 70% of the overall procurement in defense. So it's a big shift from less than around a third to 70%. That is within the components of build and partnering with our allies, and we're taking major steps in order to do that. It's the strategy, it's the partnerships that we've signed, more than a dozen over the course of the last six months on 4 continents. Thank you. En ce qui concerne la diversification.
Okay, let's shift gears, and what we'll do is we'll go over here. Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader, today criticizing what Carney has done here, saying that he has created new layers of bureaucracy and red tape.
Then there's the question of autonomy. Today, the Prime Minister made announcements regarding and new promises regarding military equipment. Now, let me say we should all agree that Canada needs to become militarily independent, and that includes not just having a strong armed forces, but the ability to supply that armed forces with the best technology and equipment that exists in the world, and to do it with our own supply chains. We've become overly reliant on the Americans and on other countries because we do not have the capacities at home. We want to return them here. The reason we can't get things built for our military is the same reason we can't get homes built or resources developed. Too much bureaucracy. It often takes 7, 8, 10 years to approve purchases of equipment that goes out of date in a couple of years. This is not sustainable in the modern warfare environment. Look what's happening in Ukraine right now. They are moving at a pace that is unimaginable. Drone technology is being introduced and becoming obsolete within literally months. The Ukrainian government is literally buying drones for $300 to $1,000 from their own civilians that are going into operation within days of their purchase. That's the speed at which things are happening in warfare. The days of having like 15 or 20-year procurement processes, they have to end. We have to move quickly. And that means eliminating all the bureaucracy and empowering our military personnel to make purchases directly of the new technology and equipment that they identify and need with fewer steps. Now, we have too much bureaucracy. Everyone agrees on that. Mr. Carney's solution? Create more bureaucracy. His new proposal adds 6 new bureaucracies, agencies, councils, units, and other bureaucracies that will actually gum up and slow the system down. He's got a new $1 million man heading up the Military Investment Agency, a guy who doesn't even have a military background. We don't need more high-priced CEOs and bureaucrats. We don't need juicier contracts for multinational corporations. What we need is nimble, fast, agile, MacGyver-like purchase of the equipment, weapons, and gadgets that are going to win the wars and defend our territory in the future. Our purpose should be to defend every square inch of Canadian territory with our own means while using the best technology that will save lives and save money, that will limit bloodshed and limit costs to taxpayers all at the same time. Conservatives will be providing plans on how the government can do that in the weeks and months ahead. Again, our mission that I expressed today is a country that is affordable, that is autonomous. It turns out that the same things that we have to do to become self-reliant are the ones that we have to do to become an affordable country for all Canadians, and we want to supply Canadians with the hope that that bright, affordable, autonomous future is ahead. Thank you very much.
Est-ce que vous pensez que le Canada fait des chichis, des caprices dans sa relation commerciale avec les États-Unis, comme le pense M. Givani?
Non, moi je crois que les Canadiens sont fâchés de façon légitime à cause des menaces et des tarifs injustifiables de M. Trump. Comme M.
I'm gonna comment in a moment about his MacGyver statement.
Comme M. Harper a dit, il faut se concentrer sur ce que nous pouvons faire et ce que nous pouvons contrôler pour adapter à la nouvelle réalité. Oui, absolument. Donc, je peux compléter ma réponse. Wow, elle est anxieuse, hein? Je comprends. Donc, moi, je crois qu'il faut augmenter notre pouvoir dans les négociations, c'est-à-dire de renforcer notre économie, produire nos ressources naturelles et accumuler les minéraux nécessaires pour la défense. Ça nous donnerait beaucoup plus de puissance dans les négociations face aux Américains et nous permettrait de nous battre afin de contrer les tarifs, de rétablir un libre-échange. Thank you very much. Thank you. The answer is no. Canadians are legitimately upset by the unjustifiable tariffs and comments that the President has made. And, you know, as the Prime Minister has said, nobody can control Donald Trump. As Mr. Harper said, we have to focus not on how the President's words and deeds make us feel, but on what we can do to adapt. And what can we do? We've got to unlock our resources, build up our strategic defense minerals, bring home the capital that's fled the country, and use that leverage to fight for tariff-free access to the United States and other markets.
Have you spoken to Mr. Givani about his comments?
Yes, I have.
And what was your message to him?
Well, my message is that Canadians are understandably upset about the tariffs and the comments that President Trump has made, and that we need to focus on what we can do here at home, what we can control in our own realm, in order to be capable of having the leverage to negotiate tariff-free access to the U.S.
That potentially this is like muddling the message here, the fact that you're the leader and he seems to be talking out of turn on this issue?
Well, he speaks for himself and I speak for the party.
Do you think his trip to Washington was helpful to Canada?
Well, my view is that he represents a riding that has been disproportionately impacted by the dispute. He's from just outside of Oshawa. 1,200 Oshawa residents have lost their jobs in part due to the tariffs, and I think that it's necessary for all MPs to use all the connections and work that they can in order to overturn the tariffs and protect Canadian jobs. So I encourage all MPs to fight the tariffs and stand up for Canada.
There were leaks out of caucus last week, and then there's also this issue with Mr. Givani. I'm wondering how do you feel about how things are going in caucus?
Look, overall, I think we have a great team. We're the only party that's addressing the real issues that are affecting people's daily lives. And whether it's on affordability, the affordability of food, the safety on our streets, and the self-reliance of our economy, we have an incredible team of caucus members who have been fighting for those things, and we're going to keep doing that.
If any of your MPs were in favor of Alberta separatism, would they be allowed to remain in your caucus?
We are entirely a federalist caucus. I have not had a single MP express that view. And as for myself, I'm a very proud Federalist, born and bred Albertan, and we will be fighting for a united Canada. And we hope that Quebecers, Albertans, and all Canadians will unify around our beautiful flag and our love of country. Thank you.
And that comment doesn't seem to be sitting well with the separatists out in Alberta. I've seen some very negative things posted about Pierre Poilievre from some of the pro-51st state conservative social media influencers. Since Polyev made that comment earlier today, and now you're hearing it here on our news platform. Stay with me. I will be right back after this.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day.
Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
Well, Pierre Polyev made me laugh just moments ago when he mentioned MacGyver. He's making me think of my dad. My dad used to love watching MacGyver. He probably still does, but he hasn't watched it in a while. I'm going to have to remind him to find MacGyver on TV. It seems in some ways appropriate to talk about MacGyver when you talk about the Canadian military, a military that I always have joked that we're going to go to war with a few canoes and some hockey sticks as paddles. Just he mentions MacGyver. I thought that was classic, funny, unintentionally humorous, I think. But actually, he has a valid point, because if you look at what's going on in Ukraine with the drone technology, it shows that modern warfare is nothing like it was even just a few years ago. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, you've seen both Russia and Ukraine ramp up drone development. And in Ukraine, it has become, I think, sort of like a garage industry where citizens are just assembling these things and coming up with new and innovative ideas and taking out $1 million pieces of military, multi-million-dollar pieces of military hardware with drones that cost $300 to $1,000 a piece. And that is, in some respects, the future of warfare. Massive numbers of drones. So while we are on track now to spend billions of dollars on all kinds of fancy military hardware, tanks, armored personnel carriers, icebreakers, ships, and F-35s, it looks like maybe what we really need is lots of drones and up to date drones technologically, drones that are able to fly without being taken down with electromagnetic radiation or radio waves to screw up their navigation systems or cut through their fiber optic lines or whatever the future might bring that might bring the drones down. In any event, it's definitely a changing landscape. And speaking of those F-35s, I mentioned this briefly the other night. I didn't hear any mention of it today, at least not up until that point, of what's going on with the F-35 procurement. But Canada has committed to purchasing an additional 14 F-35s, even though the overall purchase is still being reviewed. Here's Canadian Defense Review with the story that I told you about a few nights ago. Canada to purchase 14 additional F-35s. And CBC also has reported this a couple of nights ago. And has started to make payments for 14 additional F-35s, despite ongoing review of Lockheed Martin's F-35 fighter jet contract. And the latest order is separate from Canada's first order of 16 F-35s, which should arrive sometime this year. And the deliveries of those first 16 fifth-generation jets will continue until 2030. Department of National Defense declined to confirm the additional purchase, stating only that the review is still underway. But this is two reports confirming that the additional 14 are now in the pipeline. However, that does not mean that the Gripen is off the table as an option. And you see these additional stories on the bottom here on the Canadian Defense Review website, highlighting the Gripen as a possible alternative to the F-35. So still under review. And if the Gripen comes here, that could mean a lot more jobs too, because we would then be building those jets not only for Canada, but also for Ukraine and maybe some other countries as well, because Saab says they would put assembly right here in Canada. So there's all that. And barring everything else, you know, if all that doesn't work out, here, let's go to Twitter and we'll see what the other option might be. You just never know when you need MacGyver. Little duct tape and chewing gum, some wires, and a little innovation. And if you don't remember the MacGyver show, MacGyver, the character, would always get out of a tight situation, like maybe a bomb, with a little ingenuity and some chewing gum stuck on the back of a wire. Do you remember MacGyver? That was a fun show. My dad, he just loves watching that stuff.
Good plan is always flexible. We got a couple of minutes to spare, I guess. So, try.
I can't run too much of this or we'll get a copyright strike. We don't want that. Oh, here he goes. He's going to MacGyver it. You always got to MacGyver it. What's he doing? Oh, See, he's a chemist as much as he is a mechanic. Okay, everybody stand back. Well, now this is something. Holy smokes. The power of an acetylene torch. I'm sure this stuff works in real life. And see, you don't need to spend billions of dollars. You just need to just use your noggin and you'll get out of any jam. Any jam. Maybe I'll call my dad tomorrow and talk to him about MacGyver. Maybe we'll put him on the show. Maybe he has a couple of MacGyver jokes to share with us. What do you think?
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
You know, I was on the Regis Tremblay program today. Regis was gracious and invited me to make another appearance on his program, which was a huge compliment. So I appreciate that. And what we talked about a number of things, but one of the things was he sent me a story that he was asking about regarding Trump's tariffs and apparently Trump demand. I'm going to find what he sent me here. I just thought about it because it kind of ties into where we're going to go with tonight's broadcast. Here we go. So there's this story, and it was like, this completely not true. But this apparently is a story that is circulating over in Europe that he became aware of. And it says Trump demands guaranteed Canadian wheat. Carney confirms 4 million tons already rerouted away from the U.S. And the demand came publicly, but the response revealed the deal was already done. After Donald Trump called for guaranteed access to Canadian wheat, Mark Carney confirmed that 4 million tons had already been redirected to buyers in Europe and Asia amid rising trade tensions. Grain markets jolted, U.S. millers scrambled, and food producers warned of tightened supply just weeks before key purchasing cycles. Ottawa insists this shift reflects stable long-term contracts, not retaliation. Supporters frame Trump's demand as securing American food security. Critics say the leverage evaporated the moment shipments sailed elsewhere. With the bread prices and farm incomes on the line, did Washington misjudge its influence or trigger a pivot that can't easily be reversed? Well, it's not true. Trump never made that demand. And so I was wondering, like, why is that story even out there? Then, so I went and I started to search, and I did some digging, and I found this crap out there, and this stuff generates tons of views. In fact, it often goes viral. This is off a channel. What's this piece of crap channel called? Canada Press Room. Okay, so they're making stuff up, and this is going to take us where we need to go tonight. All right, let's play this fabricated BS.
Many of America's farmers already feeling the pinch are worried about the possibility of more challenges.
The latest industry to take a supply chain hit, and that's farming. With a global fertilizer shortage, farmers across the world
Fertilizer, they're spreading lots of that here.
are having to shift tactics to make sure they have a good crop to harvest.
The United States has long taken for granted the steady flow of high-quality wheat crossing its northern border, enough to supply the vast majority of what American mills require for consistent premium flour.
Bread prices rose quietly.
Look.
Flour mills started calling emergency meetings. Rail cars full of Canadian wheat rolled past American buyers on their way to Mexico and China. While Washington argued over tariffs, Canada made moves.
Okay, look. It just isn't true. That channel is all AI. I don't know if you could see it. Look at Rachel Maddow's mouth. This is not a real story. Let me bring her back up here. Okay. Pay close attention to her mouth in particular, and you'll also notice there are jump cuts in the video.
Wheat crossing its northern border, enough to supply the crossing its northern border.
Make sure they have a good crop to harvest.
The United States has long taken for granted the steady flow of high-quality wheat crossing its northern border, enough to supply the vast majority of what American mills require for consistent premium flour.
Bread price.
Her lip movements are not natural. There are cuts in the video. And then if you look at the description below on this YouTube channel, they do confirm that this is altered or synthetic content. Sound or visuals were significantly edited or digitally generated. This is bunk, but it's all designed to reinforce some sort of a narrative that somebody out there wants people to believe, and a lot of people will believe this story. It's an anti-Trump story, and in some ways, I wish Donald Trump was taking it on the chin on this issue, but I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate a lie. That story's a lie. Trump never made that demand, and the United States would not starve to death if they didn't have Canadian grain, because they already produce a massive amount of wheat on their own, and Canada does ship. I think it's about a third of all of the wheat that goes to the U.S. comes from Canada, but it only fills in certain parts of the market when they're looking for very specific types of wheat. So they're not dependent on Canadian wheat to survive. It wouldn't really affect their food sovereignty if they didn't have access to Canadian wheat. It's just an exaggeration and a complete fabrication, because it isn't wheat in itself that has really been front and center on the issue and the tariff issue. It has really been about canola. So it's almost like somebody out there, maybe a foreign government that doesn't understand English very well, created this stuff without really understanding maybe the difference between canola and wheat. I don't know. I don't know who this is. I don't know who it is that's presenting themselves as, what was the name of this channel again? Canada Press Room. Well, it's not very, I wouldn't say it's very pro, it's not Canadian. I don't think this is Canada. So there's all kinds of crap out there, man. All kinds of it. So that I just we didn't even really get into this too much on his program, but for me, it did highlight something of importance. And that is, a lot of the stuff that we're being fed online, it's just not real. And even the stuff that is real isn't real. Case in point, look at all this stuff with clavicular that we've been talking about for the past few nights. This stuff it's going viral. It's all aimed at a very young demographic, young adults. And what I'm finding is it's all like, this is like a relationship show. It's a modern version of dating. Like, what do they used to call it? Where you would go on and you would ask questions. The bachelorettes would come on, and anyway, they've had different versions of dating shows and stuff like that for young people. The dating game, I think, is what it was called back in my day when I was a kid. In any event, you look here and, while tracking down the ASU frat leader number 2 ranked Chad Androgenic got called ugly by LTN and things escalated. It's all about drama. But I'm going to put it to you that none of this is actually, random, organic. It's not just happening on its own. This is all complete, total manipulation. This is the social media platform, in this case X, amplifying this and targeting it at a very specific group of people for a very specific reason. These young people, in my view, doing very unhealthy things, both physically and psychologically, as they engage in looks maxing. These are new phrases from this new generation. They're engaging in bad behavior, and they're being encouraged to do it, and they're being turned into stars along the way by the social media platform. Make no mistake, this is just a new way of manufacturing stars.
I'm sorry, but you're not attractive.
You're like the most fucking ugly on the planet.
Friend? So you're gonna project onto me like that? That is unacceptable. Just move on. I'm sorry, but you're not attractive.
You're like the most fucking ugly thing on the planet. Fuck off.
She's your girlfriend? Get her in line. So you're gonna project onto me like that? That is unacceptable. Just move on. I don't think so. This ugly little fucking whore here called me ugly. She had the audacity to call me ugly. Mate. Wait, show your face on stream. No. Show your ugly face on stream, you bitch. Mate. Show your ugly fucking face on stream, you whore. Hey.
Mate, you don't say that.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Show your ugly face on stream.
Hey, we're not saying that.
I mob that ugly bitch to death. She fucking knows it. Tell her to get on some LSD, kill her ego, and she'll fucking understand and know her fucking place. I'm sorry, but
this is all conservative pop media now. And it has its roots in, I think, some pretty dark places. And the messaging being directed at our young people is, I think, pretty destructive. And yet it's coming from the conservative side of the political spectrum, where they are advocating and promoting traditional values and, getting back to, making America great again, or make Australia great again. This isn't great. Look, even the young people in the line there don't like what's going on. They don't like this guy, although a lot of the young women who are attracted to these guys who are engaging in bodybuilding and the use of steroids and illicit drugs like crystal meth to keep their body weight down. And, they say they're engaged in bone crushing, beating themselves in the face with a hammer to rearrange the bones in their face so they get that chiseled jawline, that Adonis kind of Greek god look, if you will, the perfect look. It's just, I don't know. I just highlight it because you know what that is? That's not real. That is a show, just like any television show produced. This is just a new way of delivering the messaging. But now that there are fewer, if any, rules, the messaging has turned to a very dark place, a very unhealthy place, as you just saw. You would never have seen stuff like that on television when I was in my 20s. But the profanity, the pejorative terms, the insults, the condescension, the mistreatment of women, misogynistic behavior. It's that they're trying to portray these young guys with all their drugged up muscles as being alpha males, dominant, and it's going to lead to bad outcomes, guaranteed. Okay, let's move on from there, because this takes us to other things going on out there. I guess what we'll do is, first of all, highlight how, as an extension of all that, MAGA is having a meltdown internally because of all these Epstein files in particular, and the stuff just keeps coming out. There are videos out there tonight showing that come out of these files. The thing about it is, let me see if I can find the latest videos. These videos, I guess, have been found embedded in PDF files, which are not readily apparent, but if you know how to extract them, then you can make them visible. First of all, I want to show you the videos that just came out. I will find them here briefly. Okay. Some of these in a bedroom. Let's go to this X scroll, because I know they're in here. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. I know they're in here. And scroll, scroll, scroll. Here's one right here. More disturbing footage in the Epstein files seems like it never ends. File number EFTA 016485889. And it's all blacked out. I don't know what the hell's going on in there. No audio. So disturbing. I see somebody's. I don't know what's going. I don't know. Keep scrolling down. Epstein's Ivy League connections back in focus. The DOJ files show just how deep Epstein's ties ran with places like Harvard, MIT, Columbia, Bard, UCLA, Yale, Duke, and more are now resigning, getting suspended, or under investigation. Photos out. Yeah, this guy met with just about everybody, didn't he? Anybody was anybody. And here's another one of the bedroom videos. But what am I supposed to make of that? Like there's no audio, there's no context. Everything's blacked out. So it's basically redacted video of video. It makes me just wonder, like, there's a lot left to the imagination there, isn't there? And with the way things have been presented to us, people's imaginations are running pretty wild here tonight. Which also makes me think of something else. I sent myself this. And this might make you think. Right here. Okay. See, with all the talk of all the victims, I came across this, and I want you to watch this carefully. I'd like it if you did. And just look how upset this young lady is, and then watch what happens at the very end. Oh, hang on a second. Here it is here. If this doesn't just break your heart.
I tried so hard. I tried so hard. To get out. And my pimp, he just like, you know, I love my job. Was that too morbid of a joke? Was that a little too morbid? Was that a little too morbid for you guys? Because right after I started saying it, I was like, ooh, maybe.
I'm just going to go to the chat. What did you guys make of that? I don't know if anybody's caught up yet in the chat. Yeah, what? Oh, good grief. Insanity. Well, you know what it is. That she's a porn star. I don't know what the context was. It happened to come up in my feed because I'm being fed stuff through the algorithm. And because I was looking at the Epstein stuff, that came up. So I shared it with you because you see how easy it is to be manipulated? When someone starts to cry, especially a woman, and it instantly tugs at your heartstrings. When that came up in my feed, I was like, oh my God, what is this? Is this some Epstein victim and telling all, sharing her story? And then it turned into that. And then I found out this is a porn star doing some sort of a live stream. And I don't know what the whole deal was with it, but it shows you something. It's like, and then it made me think, I should just mention to you, and you guys think it was all about the ostriches. A lot of tears there too.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow, maybe too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, those young people, those young men, they're being manipulated with money. I just saw a video of that clavicular character, and he's a character. He just handed out a $15,000 Rolex to some guy that he rolled up on in his Sprinter van, all decked out, and gives away a $15,000 Rolex. It's a show. That's the same as Oprah giving away cars on TV. It's just the modern equivalent of that. Those young people are being manipulated. They're either just being hired and paid outright to be characters online for X. And if you go to Rumble, they have their preferred influencers that get leverage, that are promoted through the algorithm. They're put, up front and promoted online on Rumble every day. Kim Iverson, Dan Bongino, the list goes on, right? Those are the people that they promote. That's why they get the views. And you get other political streamers out there. You think that they're getting 70,000, 200,000 views by accident just because people love them. That becomes part of it because they're promoted and they become personalities that people identify with. But it's because they are being placed in front of you through the algorithm, through demographic targeting and other means, to make sure that you watch what they want you to watch. Me too. And because I clicked on a clavicular video and a couple more, and now I'm just being flooded with clavicular videos, even though I'm not in the right demographic, but because I've shown interest, now I'm just getting more and more and more of it. And because I clicked on Epstein stuff, I got more Epstein stuff, and then I'm looking for victims of sexual assault and transgender issue related material and mass shooting material. And then, of course, because that's all kind of weird stuff, I get the video of the porn star crying, putting on some sort of performance for clicks. And I stopped and I looked at it because it was a woman crying. It's all designed to suck us down into a rabbit hole, or at least into the Matrix. And they even talk about being in the Matrix. It is foreshadowing, predictive programming. And when I say predictive programming, I think maybe they are setting us up, conditioning us for being in the Matrix in an even more dramatic way in the future. We're in the Matrix now already. They are in the Matrix. They are the characters in the Matrix. Clavicular and that androgyny guy, or I can't remember his name now already, I've forgotten. That's how truly inconsequential a guy is to my life, how much I really don't care about him, other than I wish him well and I wish he wasn't doing to himself what he's doing, because I can see that it's going to be, in the end, a train wreck. And yet, through all of my life, I've seen celebrities, rock stars, rewarded for being train wrecks. I've always thought that rock stars who get strung out on drugs, live fast, die hard, or die young, and leave a good-looking corpse, are truly victims. And what I'm seeing going on here isn't really that much different. Except that there's a political element to this that, well, I guess there's always been a political element to, say, rock and roll music too, right? Whether it's Jimi Hendrix, Star Spangled Banner, with all of the sounds of the explosions and the guitar licks mimicking gunshots, missiles being fired off. Political statement there. There's a guy who lived fast, died young. have things really changed that much. And even when celebrities crash and burn, even when they're attacked online and become targeted themselves, they're still rewarded when they hit bottom and they've been kicked around enough. Then it's the recovery and the path back up, right? When everyone goes, yeah, that's right. At least he's trying, Charlie Sheen, who's at the top of his game. The world is his oyster, and then crashes and burns because of drugs and booze and women and being HIV positive. So he hits rock bottom, but he's too big to fail. So he's on the rise again, and he still gets interviewed, and he's far from done. So no matter how much you screw up, you can always find salvation or a second chance by reinventing yourself. In the case of Russell Brand and the accusations leveled at him, the sexual assault allegations, he's now a Christian. It's a miracle. I watched a movie. I'm pretty sure he was in it. It was called Death on the Nile. And he was actually very good in it. I was amazed at how charismatic he was in the movie. It was not a bad whodunit. Murder mystery. Watched it with my wife on Valentine's Day. I'm not sure what the message was there because it was a love murder mystery thing. Definitely a tragedy. And reminded me of some Shakespearean work and some more recent pop culture stuff too. It was a blending of different classic stories and more modern treatments of said genre. But Russell Brand, still alive, still kicking, and still generating lots of views online. He's out there too in the Matrix. And that gets us to reality because we've seen these horrific shootings over the last couple of weeks. Well, week and a half, I guess now, right? Tumbler Ridge and now this shooting at the arena in Rhode Island. But, before I get to that, and we're going to come to it, I should mention this. I should highlight this because this is all about online stuff, and this is about the Epstein files. MAGA is having a crack up. MAGA is struggling to remain cohesive because of people like Steve Bannon, mentioned many, many times in the Epstein files, and now he's being targeted by people within the MAGA movement, like prominent people. And it's not the first time, but now the people like Roger Stone, who has been at odds with Bannon for a long time, they're saying, here are the receipts. Look at this. This is on Mario Nawfal's X account. Yet another Epstein chat of Steve Bannon scheming with Jeffrey Epstein. This time it's about pushing for a new defense. File number EFTA 016155522. There's a lot of this correspondence between Bannon and Epstein and Bannon. Bannon was going to make, I guess, a documentary designed to shield Epstein from a lot of the negativity that was flowing from his sex charges and other allegations. It says Flynn's hearing, so he has time in the next 3 months to help further. They delayed it 90 days. Yep, so I guess the report is not sent to justice until January 10th. Dems go berserk. Smarter people than me say he fakes tinnitus. As heart attacks can be checked, but disabling ringing in the ears has no diagnostic and is considered disabling. caved on the wall today. Flesh-eating bacteria will look benign compared to what he is in for. So yet another chat of Steve Bannon scheming with Jeffrey. Yeah, how to kind of put a ruse on in the court. So just pull this down. See, they're melting down. They're fighting among themselves because you see Bannon was always running schemes, money-making schemes, got convicted for doing it. That build the wall scam, right? That was so that he could generate lots of money and he put lots of it in his own pocket. Then Trump ultimately pardoned him. But remember when Trump kind of distanced himself from Steve Bannon, calling him sloppy Steve Bannon, even though Bannon has been a key strategist for Trump. The allegations now are that, and even before this from Roger Stone, are that Bannon was actually setting Trump up and trying to tear him down. Let me see if I've got it. Here's Roger Stone's X account. And even Elon Musk has been attacking Bannon. My problem with Steve began when he testified under oath to the House Intelligence Committee, says Roger Stone, as I did, and correctly said he and I never discussed WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or the emails Democrats were claiming had been stolen. But then, to the surprise of the MAGA movement, Steve popped up as a Mueller witness at my trial and said the direct opposite, essentially perjuring himself and siding with the Mueller witch hunt in a trial against me that was meant to take down President Trump. George Washington University Law School professor Jonathan Turley noted the inconsistencies and told the New York Post he, Bannon, has two diametrically opposite sworn statements. I first noted a story in the New York Post reporting that Steve Bannon had been seen entering Epstein's palatial home in Manhattan in 2018. The New York Post would go on to also report that Bannon visited Epstein at his Paris apartment. Who cozies up to a man then convicted of sex crimes in Florida involving children? I said so on InfoWars at the time. Communications between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein, recently declassified by the DOJ, show Bannon denigrating Trump, calling him stupid, calling for his removal as president under the 25th Amendment, and bragging about Bannon's undermining of Trump's China trade policy. Bannon pleaded guilty to defrauding donors of the We Build the Wall nonprofit of $15 million. It had nothing to do with Trump. His two co-conspirators served long prison sentences. Bannon, on the other hand, was given no jail time. Bannon would then be named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the $1 billion fraud trial of his shady Chinese patron, who was convicted of various financial crimes, but Steve is not prosecuted. Now there seem to be legitimate questions in a lawsuit pertaining to Bannon's management of a Bitcoin company. Any reasonable reading of the texts and emails released by the DOJ shows the intimacy between Bannon and Epstein, with Bannon saying in an email to Epstein that he, not DJT, was the center of the movement. And then Bannon began attacking Elon Musk. When Musk began calling for full disclosure regarding Jeffrey Epstein, Bannon claimed that Elon was not a legitimate U.S. citizen and demanded that Musk lose all federal government contracts, such as SpaceX and Starlink. Yup, he did. Elon and Bannon would be in the Epstein files, and the Bannon will yet go to prison. I believe Elon will yet be proven completely right about Steve Bannon. Bannon went to prison because he decided to completely ignore a subpoena from a House investigatory committee. He could have simply fulfilled his legal obligation by showing up for the hearing and asserting his Fifth Amendment rights, which both General Flynn and I did, not because I have anything to hide, not because of anything I know, but because I have extensive experience with Democrats turning honest testimony into a process crime. For some reason, Bannon decided to be a martyr, or he just had bad lawyering. Now we are told the DOJ is essentially moving to vacate the charges Bannon was convicted of for defying the House subpoena. Then I ask, when will Peter Navarro, whose brutal arrest on the same charge is unforgivable, also have the charges he was convicted of vacated? It is widely believed that Bannon was paying and continues to pay a small army of influencers, many of whom seem to be silent regarding these shocking disclosures. Interesting. In fact, there is direct evidence of Bannon having a network of influencers that he has set up. I believe much of the 13 hours of video, which has not been released by the DOJ, includes Bannon further coaching Epstein on how to parry through questions about the allegations against him. All 13 hours should be released, should be released now unedited. I've seen some of that video evidence. I have a lengthy interview, which if it hasn't been taken down, I'll maybe share it with you another night. The claim that it was all for a documentary won't wash because Bannon is in the Epstein emails coaching Epstein about how to act, saying, first, we need to push back on the lies, then crush the pedo trafficking narrative, then rebuild your image as a philanthropist. If it was a documentary, it was a documentary to redeem Epstein. Was Steve getting paid, or was the payoff yet to come? Indeed, Bannon was scheduled to visit the man he called God and brother in the emails only 2 days after Epstein was arrested while landing in his private jet from Paris to Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. My name appears in the Epstein files because in an email, Epstein complains to Bannon about an interview I did on InfoWars in which I connected Epstein to the Clintons. I'm damn proud of that, says Roger Stone. That is my beef with Steve Bannon. Indeed. And the thing about Roger Stone is that he also has a radio show on WABC, that pro-Trump, pro-ostrich radio station. WABC out of New York City. And he just did a podcast focused on Steve Bannon. Going to run some of that for you right here.
Elon Musk keeps tweeting, or I should say Xing on X, which he's turned into the most important free speech vehicle in the world. It was heroic to not only pay a huge price to take control of Twitter, but then have the courage to open the records to demonstrate how government had worked with Twitter executives to cancel or censor numerous people for having the wrong ideas. So to me, Elon Musk is one of the great heroes when it comes to free speech. He really breaks down the iron wall that is set up against Donald Trump after his election. And he's been a champion of free speech, but he keeps tweeting, Steve Bannon is going to jail. Steve Bannon is going to jail. Bannon, of course, is reeling from the release of photographs and emails that show conclusively that he was close with the convicted sex criminal and charged child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. He was coaching him on interviews and on rehabilitating his image. They shot some allegedly 15 hours of film together. Bannon says it was for a documentary. It's never been released. I think it is more likely practice sessions for a 60 minutes invitation that had been extended to Epstein, but that Epstein obviously had to cancel because it was 2 days after he was arrested. The emails even show that Bannon was supposed to go to Epstein's island to continue filming with him 2 days after Epstein was arrested, although the difference between Epstein's arrest and mine are quite interesting. In my case, 29 heavily armed FBI agents stormed my home at 6 o'clock in the morning after tipping off a CNN, whereas Epstein was arrested in the small private airport in Teterboro, New Jersey, getting off a jet, and by two polite FBI agents who then thoughtfully one of them put his jacket over the handcuffs so that nobody would see them as he exited. Handled quite differently. Bannon, I think, is revealed as very anti-Trump in these text messages. So there's a huge difference between the Bannon who one sees on the War Room, where he pretends to be a Trump loyalist. This is the same Steve Bannon who said that Trump was not a billionaire, that Trump was that the Trump organization was a criminal. The Trump organization was a criminal enterprise. Said that Donald Jr. had colluded with the Russians. This is a guy who denigrated Trump behind his back. And these these email messages with Epstein, he calls Trump stupid. He also says that he, Bannon, is the center of the movement, not Donald J. Trump, which gives you some idea of his inflated ego. But this is a man who pled guilty to embezzling $15 million from the Build the Wall Foundation, was pardoned for it by Trump, recharged for it in New York, and then strangely enough, he pled guilty to being a fraudster, and a left-wing Democrat judge in Manhattan gave him no jail time. Many people find that very odd. Says he's running for president, but I think his patron post-White House goes by the name of Miles Guo, may have connections to the CCP, and we're investigating that. There is no question whatsoever that Guo, when he was prosecuted under cross-examination, when asked if his money came from the CCP or anything about the paymaster, a notorious Michael G., he pled the fifth 55 times. So we're on the trail of that money. We'll report it right here in the Stone Zone when we get the update on this hot story. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back with more politics on the other side. We're here 5 days a week talking news, history, the day's politics. Sometimes we even talk a little food and fashion. So thanks for joining us in the zone, and we'll be right back.
In the Stone Zone. I mean, the Stone Zone. The whole Bannon controversy is just winding its way, slithering its way all through the MAGA sphere. Dinesh D'Souza kind of summing it up here, I think, very concisely and neatly.
Then there's Steve Bannon, man of the people. Now, to the outside world, Steve Bannon is a populist. He's on the side of the common man. He reflects the ideology of the common man on his show, War Room. He won't put up with those rich elites. They're destroying the country. He, Steve, is the leader of a movement that is saving the country. Except there's a facade. Steve Bannon is all over the Epstein files. It's not just that Bannon knew Epstein. Bannon was a close advisor and confidant to Epstein. Bannon was planning to make a documentary film defending Epstein. By the way, prior to the release of the files, Bannon made it sound like he was doing a film critical of Epstein. Au contraire, Bannon was essentially serving as Epstein's PR man. Epstein, too, saw himself as a promoter of Bannon. You scratch my groin and I'll scratch yours. Sorry, I had to go there. Now, in one exchange, Epstein basically tells Bannon that he needs a bit of a rebranding. Bannon is seen too much as a political hack. Epstein wants Bannon to go into media. This will provide a much better cover for him. The underlying assumption is that Bannon can make shady deals, but hide behind the banner of being a journalist. Now, consider one of Bannon's biggest scams, raising money to build the wall. For Bannon, this was basically a ruse to get money for himself. What he really wanted was for well-meaning rubes to give him their hard-earned money. But it doesn't work to say, I'm a lazy, disheveled Wall Street guy, I want to live high on the hog, so give me money. Now that wouldn't fly. So Bannon says instead, workers of the world unite. Give me money so that I can build a wall and save your jobs. Bannon was convicted of this racket and then pardoned by Trump. You might say, you too, Dinesh, were convicted and pardoned. Well, yes, but I was convicted of exceeding the campaign finance limit, which is trying to give away too much of my own money. Bannon was convicted of trying to steal from others. Big difference. Incidentally, in order to pull off this confidence trick, Bannon could not afford to be seen as a political hack. He needed to be seen as an honest journalist, a champion of the people. The whole scam depended on it. So Epstein understood the game. He wanted to help Bannon to play it better. We see here that Epstein's club was not just about sex, it was also about political and cultural power. It was about jobs and career advancement and steering the course of scientific research. It was about playing the system. The people in this network, Epstein included, are not so much immoral as they are amoral. For them, it's about power and sex and money. It's not about anything else because there is nothing else. These are people who live by Dostoevsky's maxim, if God is not, everything is permitted. You can see now why the new atheists were all over Epstein like flies circling poop. For the fly, there's no inherent aversion to poop. In fact, for the fly, poop is a delicacy. This.
Wow. So much for traditional values. Alex Jones says all this division is ripping MAGA apart.
Term in psychology that's way overused, narcissist. Trump got obsessed with famous self-help books and stuff when he was a kid and positive thinking. And he really does love everybody and wants to be successful and doesn't like war. But he thinks if he just thinks of everything positive, that's the way it is. And it's good to a certain extent, but not the other extent. And he makes everything about him. And yes, them bringing out Epstein and all this now, even though it burns the globalist, they thought they could handle it. It's out of their control. It's immolating them. It's self-immolation. They are bringing out cherry-picked stuffed nothing burgers, and it's not a nothing burger that the DOJ is covering it up. So, because Trump all made it about him not being involved, and so let's go ahead and shut this down. Now you are involved. And that was the devil's trick at his pride. And you ask, how far does evil go? It has no limit. That's why there's the confirmed pedophilia, cannibalism, murder, torture, all these top Harvard people, top MIT. Oh, I love the torture video. Yeah, we're delivering the sex slave to the Hyatt. It's been paid for. Enjoy yourself. Yeah, my sex slave ran its operations well, but still talked back, so I tortured her. We already know the networks, we know the groups, even before the rest of the files came out that exonerated him as the first federal informant that blew the whistle on him 18 years ago. I already knew that. So why is he doing it now? Well, he said a few weeks ago, continuing to focus on this will really hurt the country, hurt the stock market. Bondi said it last week in Congress. No, covering it up will hurt our souls and the stock market and everything else. The American people are awake to this.
Yeah, I think so. I think the American people are waking up to it. And contrary to what Alex Jones has said, this does not exonerate Trump. That's why it persists. It ain't going away, folks.
They both look clean, but the guest list redacted, if you know what I mean. protect the victims. And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another news spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel bars. Just a little glitch. A billionaire's privilege. That's the sound of the case. Closed.
The shooter, Rhode Island hockey arena, has been identified. He killed his ex-wife and one of his kids, his son, in that attack. So we did not get a name when we were live last night, and our broadcast cut short. And I said I would tell you what happened. I can't be sure. All I know is last night while I was talking, when we were broadcasting, all feeds to all of our channels were cut. Not to one channel. I think we were broadcasting last night to 8 different platforms. And everything went down at the same time. Yet, not here. It looked like we were still running here. Our computer's not affected. Internet here not affected. But the feed was cut somewhere. Well, that sort of makes you wonder, doesn't it? And we've had ongoing technical problems for a long time. I told you earlier that a lot of what you're seeing online these days is not organic. It is not just random. It isn't just someone who starts a podcast and suddenly becomes very, very popular. That does happen. I have no doubt that it can and does happen, but I think less frequently today than it used to because the social media moguls, the techno giants like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, they control the algorithms. They get to decide who becomes a star and who doesn't. They get to decide what messages get promoted and which ones do not. You can have free speech, but it doesn't guarantee freedom of reach. So you get suppressed and this guy gets promoted. So what do I talk about? I talk about a lot of things these days that run contrary to what might be considered, aligned with the goals of maybe the MAGA regime. Because I'm a Canadian and I'm a Canadian loyalist, right? Not to say there aren't some channels out there that are successful in that realm, but I think they have money and a political machine behind them too. So we don't have that here. What we do have is we have each other. And while I'm certain that our programming is being suppressed, we will march on. We'll carry on because what I'm trying to do is get you closer to the truth without compromising myself. And I think we're getting there, even though we've had some people drop off and stop watching at times. Some of those folks, some of you have come back, and I appreciate it. Because at times it's very difficult to understand where we're going with this. It is a journey, isn't it? We're learning together. We're figuring this stuff out because everything that is happening online with this technology, with this medium, it is new. What we're seeing with these young people, these looks maxers, and the young ladies that chase them. It's something new, and it's affecting society in profound ways. It's affecting everything from language to relationships to our politics to our future. And everything is a show. Even if it doesn't start out as a show, it becomes a show. That very apparent in the last week and a half with these shootings. Tumbler Ridge, now Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the shooting at the hockey arena. Shooter identified. I need to change this tab. There we go. So the shooter's name, Robert Dorgan, 56 years old, also went by the names Roberta Esposito and Roberta Dorgano. Some say transgender, certainly dresses in women's clothes. That was the case at the arena when he showed up and shot his ex-wife and his son. Police say they really still don't understand the motive behind the shooting.
We have looked into social media postings. There were tens of thousands of postings. So it is going to take us hours to comb through those postings and see if there's anything that would have gave any insight into the incident that happened yesterday. At first glance, we don't see that. But again, there were several thousand postings that we're going to have to comb through. We have
thousands of postings. You know, there was some indication that I might have the post here about this guy. Well, here's Crowder. First of all, Stephen Crowder, again, accusing media of not, like, intentionally not mentioning the trans identity, as he puts it, of the shooter.
As of the time of this broadcast, or at least when we started, several outlets made no mention of the trans ideation here after it was well known, meaning it was reported everywhere else on new media, social media, and confirmed. So places that didn't mention it at all, because even though their job is to inform you, they didn't think this was pertinent information. The New York Times, CBS, Politico. Jeez. Since the identity has been revealed, there's been no mention from on social media. The Krasenstein brothers, Harry Sisson, Brooklyn Dad, David Hogg, Hassan Piker, no mention of it because it's not relevant. It's not relevant even though this is the second in a week. And this is a thing that matters too. I understand, it's not lost on me. I understand that there are domestic disputes. I understand, once upon a time the expression going postal, someone just had it and snapped. Those do happen. And sometimes they're a white male. That would be most common, you'd imagine, because it's the largest demographic in this country. The reason that it matters if it's an Islamic terror attack, or the reason that it matters if it involves a trans individual, is because these people have told you their ideology. You don't have to go through the detective work of figuring out the motivation when they tell you. There are plenty of outliers, and there are plenty of single incidents of violence. Those are probably more. They're probably more numerous because they happen more frequently. Heat of the moment, right? Passion crimes. Yep. But as far as ideologically motivated crimes, if there's a pattern, that is important information if your duty is to keep the public informed and safe. Does that make sense?
If it's truly relevant and the information being used to look at it through that lens is accurate and not just based on some sort of prejudice, I suppose. Yeah. But I wonder how much we're really being manipulated, not just us, but even shooters. I was saying I've been saying for the past couple of years that I think there are so many shootings, especially in the US, less so in Canada, that I've come to question what it is that's setting these people off. Now, if the trans identity, if that's what this is a relevant factor, if that is the likely cause of this, if that's a relevant thing, then yeah, you would want to mention that. But if someone who is heterosexual shoots someone, do you then report this is a heterosexual male? You generally wouldn't say that. But if you say it's like if someone black shoots someone, and so that is then used as a descriptor because you're prejudiced in that way when you would otherwise just leave the color of the skin out of it. That's prejudicial. So this is a complex minefield that we're walking through right now. And so you see, the truth is people want this person identified as a trans identity person because there is a belief that people who are trans do these things because they're trans. Do you see? That's the cause in the mind. That's the link that's being set up when you say that it's a trans person who shot this. Oh, it's one of those again. That is in itself prejudicial. It's like saying, oh, well, it's a black person that did it. Well, of course, it's always those black people that do it. Or you could say it was a white supremacist that did it or a neo-Nazi. Well, of course, that's why he did it. Maybe that's the case. But you need, I think, some other piece of information to link that together to really completely justify describing someone based on some of those factors. I'm trying not to judge too harshly in either direction on this because it's such a politically charged, culturally charged, sexually charged issue that there's really no way to comment on it one way or the other without upsetting at least 50% of the people out there. But here's this post saying Rhode Island transgender shooter was on X one day before killing his wife and child, defending transgender rep Tim McBride and attacking Alex Jones, saying he's going to go berserk. Oh my gosh. Roberta to Alex Jones, keep bashing us, but don't wonder why we go berserk. And I don't know that this is a fair statement. Transgender violence is an epidemic. Well, you look up the stats, it doesn't bear that out, but I wonder if the stats are accurate too. I am wondering what's real anymore.
One day before he opened fire, he was defending trans Congresswoman Sarah McBride. He wrote this in part on X: keep bashing us, but do not wonder why we go berserk. So they're looking into all of these things on social media. As investigators say, it was a targeted attack. That's one thing they know for sure. Sources telling Fox it was a dispute within this family that led to the tragedy. So the gunman shows up, kills his ex-wife and one of his own kids at the hockey game. Police say 3 others are in the hospital fighting for their lives. And there really could have been more people that were killed, but a good Samaritan stepped in and tried to take this gunman down. Watch. One day before he opened.
Yeah, so why did the guy go berserk? Don't wonder why we go berserk. I've been thinking, I hadn't really occurred to me until overnight. Maybe we're seeing some of these shootings because these transgender people are convinced that they are at war and they are being targeted by people on the other side of the political spectrum. And so they feel like they are under attack, that they are in a constant state of threat. I know that there were people out there during the pandemic on the conservative side the anti-government side, whatever, however you want to, the freedom side, who literally were worried that they were going to be in a position where they had to that they needed to be armed up and ready to fight if martial law was imposed or the military came down their street, rolling with tanks or whatever was in their minds. And during the lockdowns, I have to confess, even I was wondering how far the government was going to go. So you see, it's all kind of what's in your head and how extreme someone might become as a result of that. And I know that there are people out there right now who are not trans, who still want to get their guns and do their thing. And that's scaring the living crap out of me. The whole country's on the edge, maybe on the edge of a civil war. We keep hearing it even from people like Tucker Carlson. So if you're thinking that, do you think maybe these people or people like this shooter at the arena are maybe not thinking similar kinds of things? What's in their heads? How are they coming to these conclusions? Or what are they thinking? I don't know what's in the guy's head. So I don't know what the motivation is. And don't shoot the messenger. I'm just talking about it. But that's the thing. This is so charged. If you don't say just the right thing to fall into line, you're going to get attacked. Just like all these other issues right now. You're not really allowed to have a different opinion. You're supposed to pick a side, a team, and go with that. And the people who are pulling the strings, they really want us angry. Oh, they do. Yes, they do. They want us so angry. But before we get into that, here's a man who tackled that shooter during that hockey game. We've got a clip of him. I guess he told his wife to run before taking the shooter down. So this guy is a hero regardless of the motivations. Could have been a lot worse if not for this gentleman.
I started saying he has another gun, there's another gun. I was watching the game, the hockey game, and then when I heard the pop, it sounded like two very large balloons. I mean, really, because you had an echo noise in there. When I looked to where the area was where I thought the balloons were popping, which was right in front of me, when I heard the third pop, there was no balloon. So then that was when I recognized that there was a possible gunshot. My wife was sitting next to me. When I looked around, I saw the gun, and I told her and her friends to run. I said, run. And then I said, run. And without any hesitation, they all got up. I hesitated for about a second. You'll see it on the video. I hesitated for a second because I was looking at them. And as soon as the people cleared is when I got up on the next step and jumped. I jumped with my left hand, grabbing the gun and trying to put my body on top of him. And what happened was my hand, if you see my hand, it got caught in the chamber of the gun. So once the hand got inside of the chamber and I had it flat, he was trying to pull the trigger. And once he did that, he kind of pushed me off, which I rolled off. He then stood up, you see that, and then I was fortunate enough that there was 2 or 3 other gentlemen. One tried to put him in a chokehold, one tried to subdue him, and then that's when he fell back down. So he fell back down at my feet. And when I was bending down, I was attempting to put my knee or subdue him and hold him down, and next thing you know, in his left pocket, he pulled out another gun. Same thing as the first one, the one I was holding, he pulled out a sister gun on that, and then I started saying he has another gun, there's another gun, and he took it, put it right in his mouth and shot himself.
Michael Black tells me that he has 9 stitches in his hand from where he grabbed the shooter's gun. He also has a burn mark on his lip, he says, from one of the bullet casings that hit him in the face when the initial shots were fired. He did go to the hospital, but has since been released.
Too much death out there. Too much anger, too much division. Way too much.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Okay, going to take a little break here. I got a couple more things to queue up that you're not going to want to miss. Stay with me. Maverick News. The world is watching. Sorry, I'm back. I guess we lost our, I guess that ran out on me. Okay. So, we've also got this story here, and I don't want to comment too much on it because I just haven't. I'm not comfortable with everything I'm seeing on. And when I say comfortable, I'm not sure that the information being shared on this story, which is before the courts, is entirely accurate in terms of context and scale. I've looked into it a bit, but I'm sure you've heard about this Alice Michael Joseph Atwood, who attacked his daughter, 8 years old, I guess, and she remains in hospital. He's out on bail. So this is, of course, in many respects, outrageous and also angering people, and I understand that. And so this, I guess, a guy in Calgary found this person who is currently out awaiting trial, and this guy's getting a lot of clicks with making a video of the guy confronting the guy who apparently stabbed his daughter in the throat.
These Calgary men found the monster at a gas station. Watch this.
This you? This is you, eh? That's you? What happened, bro?
Explain yourself.
Huh? What happened? Yo, what happened? Huh? Look, I want to talk about it. I don't want to. Yeah, let's talk. All right, let's talk. Yeah, what happened? Yeah, what happened?
The only way I'll do it on video is if you guys pay me $60 right now.
Shut the fuck up. We're not paying you shit. I'll slap the fuck out of you.
I'll do it for no money.
Shut the fuck up. You acting like that shit's... You think that shit's cool, bro?
No.
So what the fuck you talking about? Yeah, bro. Fucking goofy ass nigga. Pussy. Goofy ass nigga. Car's not even started. Look at this pussy. Panicking. Car's not even started, bitch. Goofy ass nigga.
These Calgary men found the monster.
Yeah. See, I just don't know enough about this story. And I don't know if even what I'm seeing online with it is, it appears to be accurate, but until I dig into it more, I'm not going to say a whole hell of a lot about it, because I see I see the way it's also being used for political purposes. And that's why I want to talk a little bit about, maybe a lot tonight, about manipulation, social media, the info war, and what's being done to all of us. Because what I'm seeing online isn't just about this stuff. It's about radicalizing people. It is. Are you full-blown Nazi yet? I'm just asking, because I'm seeing videos that are just not hiding it anymore. I watched a couple this morning where they're literally praising Adolf. I started warning everybody about this about 2 years ago, because the old tropes, the old cliches were being recycled in ways that were masked. And I didn't recognize it at first. It took a while to peel off the layers, pull that mask back so I could take a look inside there. What the hell is this really all about? And that's what it is. You go back to all this stuff, there's something not right. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist, but there's something not right. I've been saying for a long time, mental illness is being weaponized. People were locked down. Nothing has been the same since. Things were getting weird for a while before that. I think in Canada, it really became very pronounced around the time that marijuana became legalized, normalized, and started being sold on street corners everywhere when Justin Trudeau did that. I do not partake. But there's something not right. And now we have 10 cities. We have a much bigger drug problem. We have problems that I've never seen in my community before, but it all started right around then. Right then. You combine the drug use with what's going on online, the way that things can be targeted online. You know you're being manipulated. You know. We're all aware, and yet we're not aware. We don't think about it too much. We think we're making choices. We think we choose what we watch, but we really don't. It's all manipulated, heavily manipulated by big companies, small companies that buy advertising, governments, foreign and domestic. The biggest advertiser in the country is your government. They spend more than any of the big corporations. I learned that when I was in high school, social studies. Everyone in the class was asked, which big company do you think spends the most on advertising? They gave a list. And the government of Canada was on the list, but nobody picked it. But it's number one. The government spends more on advertising than anybody. And that's certainly the case in the United States. But they don't just spend it to advertise. They spend it to manipulate. And not just on advertising. They do it through propaganda. And through very targeted messaging. I'm not paranoid. It's real. It's happening. In fact, even here tonight. And it's not, you think about what we just went through with these shootings. Do you know statistically how unlikely it is to get 2 shootings like that with a transgender person, committed by a transgender person within the space of a week? I looked up the stats. Maybe the stats are skewed because I just went through AI to do it. But I ran it several times, And the results kept coming back. Like, it's so astronomically unlikely that it's like hard to believe that it's happened. You could get a cluster of incidents like this, but statistically speaking, highly unlikely. And to get, and these lists being shared, again, statistically, highly, highly unlikely. I'm questioning everything. Something's not right. New York Sun, a biological male who identified as a woman warned that he could go berserk hours before killing 2 family members and injuring 3 other people at a Rhode Island hockey game Monday afternoon. And there's a picture of the person who did it in the New York Sun. Something's not right. In no way am I trying to justify anything anyone has done that is horrific. No, that's not my intent here. I'm trying to point out that something ain't right. Something ain't right with him or her or whatever. Something ain't right with us. Something's not right in the matrix. Something's not right on the streets. Somebody's pulling some strings. Statistically speaking, to get what we just went through in the last week? Now, why would you get an increase? Maybe it's not an increase. Maybe it's just that we're getting more focus on it through media because of the culture war. On the other hand, why would you get 2 in 1 week? Could be because I can think of a bunch of reasons why. Could be because they think they're, a certain group of people thinks they're under threat, they're at war, whatever, and psychologically they're all messed up because of what they're seeing online. I think you just have to remember that not only are we being manipulated, that person who pulled the trigger, they're being subjected to massive amounts of whatever it is they're watching online. And I'm pretty sure that whatever they're seeing online is not what we are seeing online. Did any of you get the video like that popped into your feed, fed to me, of the porn star crying and then laughing at the end? I doubt it. I got it because I was clicking on all the transgender stuff and Epstein sex stuff, and then that popped up. See, they're reading my biographical, my information, and then feeding me what they think I want to put me into an echo chamber so that they reinforce my bias and keep me engaged to keep me online longer. But these governments, they go beyond that, don't they? They manipulate us. Companies too, for whatever reason. And it's not, case in point, okay? Remember during the pandemic, the lockdowns? Remember there was this story that came out about how the Canadian government, Public Health Canada, as I recall, they were feeding us, they were testing propaganda on us. See if I can find the article. Here it is here. Military leaders saw pandemic as unique opportunity to test propaganda techniques on Canadians. Real thing. We didn't know. You didn't know. I didn't know. The only reason we know is because it came out in a report, and then this journalist, David Pugliese, who covers a lot of military stories, that's his beat, as they say, brought this to light. A plan devised by the Canadian Joint Operations Command relied on propaganda techniques similar to those employed during the Afghanistan war. Canadian military leaders saw the pandemic as a unique opportunity to test out propaganda techniques on an unsuspecting public. A newly released Canadian Forces report concludes the federal government never asked for the so-called information operations campaign. nor did Cabinet authorize the initiative developed during the COVID-19 pandemic by the Canadian Joint Operations Command, then headed by Lieutenant General Mike Rouleau. But military commanders believed they didn't need to get approval from higher authorities to develop and proceed with their plan. Retired Major General Daniel Gosselin, who was brought in to investigate the scheme, concluded in his report, the propaganda plan was developed and put in place in April 2020, even though the Canadian forces had already acknowledged that information operations and targeting policies and doctrines are aimed at adversaries and have a limited application in a domestic concept. In fact, in the United States, it's illegal to do that. I'm not sure about Canada. If it isn't, it probably should be. A copy of the December 2nd, 2020 Gosselin investigation, as well as other related documents, was obtained by this newspaper, which is the Ottawa Citizen, using access to information legislation. And the plan devised by the Canadian Joint Operations Command, also known as CJOC, relied on propaganda techniques similar to those employed during the Afghanistan War. The campaign called for shaping and exploiting information. CJOC claimed the information operations scheme was needed to head off civil disobedience by Canadians during the coronavirus pandemic and to bolster government messages about the pandemic. You see, they were very aware that a lot of people out there were thinking really bad thoughts, some of them even involving arms. I'm certain that they knew. I was aware, and if I know, I can pretty much guarantee the intelligence services know. So they were messing with our heads to keep us docile while we were locked down. That was the goal. Government didn't ask for it. Military leaders just did it. Says there was a separate initiative not linked to the CJOC plan, but was overseen by Canadian Forces intelligence officers, called for information from public social media accounts in Ontario. And data was also compiled on peaceful Black Lives Matter gatherings and BLM leaders. Remember, those protests were allowed to go on where other protests were not? Maybe this had something to do with why. Maybe the information they were compiling through whatever data they were collecting online was telling them something more than we knew. And senior military officers claimed that information was needed to ensure the success of Operation Laser, the Canadian Forces mission to help out in long-term care homes. Remember how the military went to deliver COVID-19 vaccines and assist in the administration or the administering of long-term care homes? And it was all done without government approval. And from what we've seen, I guess the people involved were, when questioned about this, they were somewhat just dismissive about it. And yet a very serious thing. So I bring that up as an example of what has already been done, just to show you I'm not paranoid. This stuff is being done, has been done, probably is still being done. And not just by our government, but by other governments too, who are trying to manipulate things by manipulating people. Like maybe this guy. Maybe. When I've seen people shoot at the president, before he does that, when the presidential election campaign, when we saw RFK Jr. running and we had multiple people trying to get close enough to him to assassinate him, what do you think that they were watching online that might have contributed to their actions? I'm not sure what it would be exactly, but I'm pretty sure that whatever it is, it's contributing. What about the guy who set himself on fire in that self-immolation to protest what he saw going on in Gaza? And then his death, his self-immolation, and I won't say his name because I don't want to give him that level of attention, lest someone else do the same thing. for the celebrity factor, or because they think that they will be able to then elevate a political message by setting themselves on fire. But I saw people on the other side of the political aisle exploiting that, turning the person into a martyr and a hero for killing themselves, which I thought was just sick. And I have to wonder, what was that person watching online before they wrote their manifesto, which in many ways echoed or mirrored, but not in a negative way, but in like a positive way. And I mean, like, not in a reverse way, but in a, carbon copy kind of way, almost, some of what we were seeing at the time in all these other manifestos that were being written by people who were engaged in horrific acts, including, forgive me for even mentioning it, but the young man who decapitated his father. He wasn't a trans. It's not just trans people who do these things. It's all kinds of people. What are they watching? I'm asking the question because I do see patterns. I see patterns too. You go read, I've read the manifestos of those people who were trying to kill Trump and trying to kill RFK Jr. and the guy who decapitated his father and the guy who self-immolated. And you read the things that they wrote before they did these things and then sometimes killed themselves. And they are eerily similar. What has been planted in their heads? Do you know how Trump got elected the first time in 2016? He talks about rigged elections. Cambridge Analytica. Do you remember Cambridge Analytica and the controversy around Cambridge Analytica? A private firm, but they were using Facebook data to target the campaign advertising. But the data was being skimmed and was so personalized, so precise, that they weren't just advertising to groups of people based on a demographic, like setting up an ad. You can set up an ad campaign on Facebook, YouTube, Google, all these platforms to reach a particular age group, a particular sex. So you could say like males between the ages of 30 and 50 who are conservative, like to drive Chevys or have an interest in Chevrolets. You can get even more specific and more specific. The more specific you get with your targeting, the more the ads cost you. But you can drill right down. These social media companies know everything about you. That's why when I'm walking around, my phone's always listening to me, just as yours is. And when I talk, if I were to talk about right now, I don't know, purchasing tents to get ready for the May 2-4 weekend, which is only, a number of months away, I bet you I'll get some tent ads on my phone sometime tonight. Because I mentioned maybe buying some tents. Wouldn't it be great to buy a tent? Maybe online. I wonder what a tent would cost online. You see? So now they can, if there's a sporting goods company and they're placing an ad and they put the right information in, and I'm in their demographic, maybe a Canadian Tire or Home Hardware or some sporting goods outfit will put an ad in front of me if I'm in the right geographic area, or John's Sporting Goods Shop, buy your used tent over here, and I'll get an ad. I know because I do some work in online marketing myself. Do you know how sophisticated it is now? If you're a car dealer, even a used car dealer, if you go to a used car site online and you click on a 2024 Honda Civic, and then you pop away and you start surfing the net, that car dealer can chase you around the internet with your cookies and keep putting ads for that specific car in front of you. And they can tell Google how many times they want that ad to run before they give up on you to try to bring you back to the site. Not just, an ad for the car lot, but an ad directed directly at you with that specific car, and they can place it in front of you 20 times if they want to. And, that gives you frequency. And if you see something, say about 3 to 7 times, you'll take action. That's generally the way it works. You have to see it a certain number of times before the target takes action. It's called frequency. It's marketing. And that these same techniques I know are being used in psyops, in information warfare, in political campaigns. Donald Trump won the 2016 election because of Facebook. I had a long discussion with a client of mine at the time who said, I don't spend on social media, spending money. And I was like, and he was something about Trump. And I remember having the conversation with him in his office. I said, are you kidding me? Donald Trump won the election because of Facebook. But it wasn't just because of Facebook. It was because of Cambridge Analytica and the data that they skimmed. And there was controversy around how they came up with that data. And subsequently, there were new rules crafted because it was so precise. And they were not targeting groups of people. They were targeting individuals with specific kinds of messaging. It's scary. You think you have free will, free agency. You think you're thinking for yourself. I think I'm thinking for myself. We all think we are not, that we're above being manipulated because we're so savvy. No, we're not. Everything affects us in one way or another. And if you're mentally or psychologically vulnerable to begin with, and you are targeted by government or a political organization, a foreign government, someone with less than noble intentions, things can get pretty dark and go to pretty bad places pretty quick if they're trying to manipulate you. Sometimes these social media companies can do it. And the technology just keeps getting better and better and better and better. Because they can target an individual, they can put information in front of you, even with an email address. You think the government doesn't have access? Or various governments, Russia, China, United States, the big powers, they have massive budgets for these kinds of information warfare campaigns. In the United States, it's supposed to be illegal to target people domestically, to target U.S. citizens. But I'm pretty sure they do it anyway. You think you don't think so? Or you think that, oh, yeah, well, what about this? This goes all the way back to 2011. Rolling Stone. Look at what they did. Not just citizens. Another runaway general. Army deploys psyops on U.S. senators. It was published by Rolling Stone, February 24th, 2011. Written by Michael Hastings. It reports here that the U.S. Army illegally directed a psychological operation, or psychological operations, psyops or information operations. They had a whole team over there, an IO team in Afghanistan, And what they were doing is trying to influence and manipulate visiting American senators and other VIPs at the time. Their goal was to persuade these senators and VIPs to support increasing troop numbers, supply more funding and resources for the Afghanistan war at the time, specifically for training Afghan forces, which back at that time was seen as the key U.S. strategy, but had been, I guess, suffering because of waning domestic support at the time. And so these orders came originally from Lieutenant General William Caldwell. He was a 3-star general commanding the NATO training mission in Afghanistan. And over several months, in 2009 to 2010, his command pressured the Information Operations Unit to, and I'll show you this if I can. Here we go. This is what their goals were. Almost got you. We're up on the screen now. To compile detailed profiles on VIPs using voting records, personal likes, dislikes, and pressure points. And a lot of this stuff was collected, this data collected, biographical information online. And they wanted to shape presentations based on this biographical data that they were accumulating on these individuals. They wanted to shape presentations, messaging, and briefings to leverage influence so that they could basically plant stuff in their heads by knowing what's already in their heads and effectively apply PSYOP techniques meant for foreign adversaries like the Taliban, but they were doing it on U.S. citizens and lawmakers. Real story, really happened. Something ain't right out there. I find it very disturbing. Here's Dan Bongino tonight. Look, we're all vulnerable to this stuff more than anybody thinks. Just tonight. Not like last month, not a while ago. Let me show you what he's posted here. If I can get this thing to click properly. There we go. Here's Bongino. He says, if you have an iPhone, this is critical. Public service announcement from the Dan Bongino Show. Update your iOS. Major update from Apple because they've had some kind of spyware infiltration, some major attack. This is real. This is tonight. This is from the former assistant or the former deputy director of the FBI.
By the way, if you have an iPhone, very critical public service announcement from the DB Show. Update your iOS. Major update from Apple. They had some kind of spyware infiltration, some major attack. Make sure you update your phone. I did it this morning. Haven't seen from the other side the threats. It's a big deal. You can look it up. But there was some Apple spyware update. Some of the stuff they can do out there with this new technology is absolutely incredible. Make sure you update it. By the way,
it's true, man. It's amazing what they can do. Take it seriously or not, but they're feeding us stuff and they're collecting data on us as well. You know, the other thing that I found really disturbing about what I have been watching online is, and I don't know if I can find it here or not, but the one post, I think, yeah, this one here. Let me see if I can find it. Let me bring this this Twitter scroll up again because I'm pretty sure it's in here. Yes, right in here somewhere. So you see these pictures. All about the hockey game. There was one in here saying, maybe I have to go back up closer to the top to find it. Yeah, transgenderism is a mental illness that breeds violence. I don't know if that's true. You can, if that's true, show me the studies. I don't know. I see these people saying it, but I don't know if it's actually true. You can have your own opinion. Jury's out over here because I see a lot about how we're being manipulated at the same time. And when I say that, I'm seeing people here saying that, we have to be angry. And I don't know if that's really where we should be going with this. I don't like it when people tell me we are supposed to be angry. I've seen it in these posts multiple times from people saying, you should be outraged by this. Should I? Well, I guess, yeah, about the shooting, but do you want me outraged over the shooting, or do you want me outraged because the person was transgender? So divisive are these issues. When I have somebody telling me that I'm supposed to be outraged, it's like, oh, am I not angry enough? Am I not sad enough? And then on the other side, I'm seeing people like Rachel Gilmore tonight upset because she's saying that this is resulting in backlash against the trans community. I think that's true too. But a lot of people want us to get out there into the streets and start rounding transgender people up. Let's be honest. That's what they really would like to have happen. They want us angry, and they want us to fight with each other. And the question I have as well is, like, why? This guy clearly does have mental health issues, but why? And what are those mental health issues like rooted in? And is the issue that this is transgenderism, or is it because he's upset that he wasn't able to see his kids anymore? Was it a domestic thing? Is it because he's on some sort of drugs that are giving him some sort of psychotic breakdown? Yeah, I don't know. But I tell you this, I don't want to go out into the streets and beat the crap out of people. I don't want to just throw a group of people into a concentration camp, or I'd really prefer to not tell people what to think or how to live, especially if what they're doing doesn't really affect me. This guy, or this person, has affected people. But what's the factor? You have to judge people as individuals. That transgender person did it. That person did it. Question is why? Grouping people can be a very dangerous thing. Case in point, and this is where social media can really take a turn to the dark side very quickly. Facebook is responsible for what really amounted to something of a, well, it's being described by some as a genocide, but certainly a mass killing, a massacre. In Myanmar. Here's some photos. And this goes back to 2017. Viewer discretion advised here, because this photo here is not that bad. It's just a scorched earth shot, burned out vehicles. This is what resulted because of something that happened with Facebook. And this is the role that Facebook played in amplifying hate speech and anti-Rohingya propaganda in Myanmar back in 2017. It led and contributed to the 2017 military-led violence against the Rohingya Muslim minority group. It's been widely described as a genocide or ethnic cleansing campaign. It resulted in thousands and thousands of deaths. Myanmar's military carried out a large-scale clearance operation at that time involving mass killings, rapes, arson, forced displacement. Estimates suggest over 10,000 Rohingya were killed, with hundreds of villages destroyed and more than 700,000 people fleeing to Bangladesh as refugees because of the threat, the violence, the killing, the genocide. See, because Facebook played a significant role in all of that in 2017, because it was pretty much the only social media available there in Myanmar at that time. And hate speech suddenly exploded on the platform with widespread dehumanizing content, calling Rohingya dogs, maggots, rapists, urging their extermination. Algorithms on Facebook were proactively amplifying inflammatory anti-Rohingya posts to boost engagement, creating echo chambers of hatred. And Facebook staff just let it go. I don't think they even really realized how harmful it was becoming. This is all documented. Again, I am not paranoid. This is not a conspiracy. This is all documented from 2017. The military and ultra-nationalist figures used Facebook to spread the propaganda, incite violence, and build public support for this crackdown on these subhumans, as they were being described. And warnings were out there from activists, experts, and there were even internal reports which were largely ignored or inadequately addressed by Facebook due to insufficient moderation at the time. It was kind of too big for their staff to handle. It was just the algorithm running out of control. It was kind of a prelude to what maybe AI is going to do to us in the future, and might actually be doing to us even right now. When I'm seeing what's going on out there, I am thinking there are parallels here. I'm seeing a pattern. Not just within the shootings and saying, oh, that's a transgender one and that's a transgender one. No, I'm seeing other patterns that we should all be waking up to. A UN fact-finding mission concluded at that time that Facebook played a determining and significant role in enabling those atrocities. That wasn't even intentional. Imagine what happens when they are targeting stuff, as Donald Trump did during the election and his campaign team to get him elected in 2016. Rigging election. They rigged it. Yeah, you rigged it, man, with your ads and a huge budget. And now you have Elon Musk in your back pocket and in your corner, not just in the United States, but globally with X. He controls the algorithm. He controls the messaging. It isn't just, the issue is no longer about just censorship. It's about reach. It's about frequency. It's about a handful of people, technocrats, deciding what it is you're going to see or not see. Are you Nazi yet? Because they're trying to turn you into it. I have no doubt of that, especially after the videos I watched on Rumble this morning. No doubt about it at all. It's a campaign. And it's been a drip, drip, drip. And it's gone from masked, repurposed, reworded, old tropes, old stories and lies, and half-truths, all being recycled to the point where now I cannot believe what I'm hearing and seeing. Is it just a coincidence that we're seeing all of this anger and all of this violence, the issue of transgenderism coming to the surface? I don't think so. You go back to the 1930s. I wasn't alive yet, but I know this. The rise of the Nazis was primarily about the economy. Oh, there's lots of suffering out there right now, isn't there? Gee, a lot of tariffs in place and a lot of inflation, not just in Canada, but in the United States too, even though they're telling you otherwise. It's not. That's the lie. Prices are rising. Unemployment in the States rising. Trump's blaming everybody but himself. He's got lots of scapegoats out there as he crashes the economy and controls the economy. He knows when it goes down and he knows how to put it back up, because all he has to do is open his mouth and talk, or pull a lever, a tariff lever, and he can make the markets go up and down. And if you don't think that they're not profiting, well, he takes the markets on constant roller coaster ride. Think again. This guy has profited by billions of dollars by being in the White House. Again, not paranoid. Look it up. It's all documented. Just his cryptocurrency scams alone, his pump and dump on the Trump meme coin has enriched his family by at least $1 billion. That one thing alone. But it's not just the economy that is driving all of this craziness out there, and this uncertainty and the fear, which then contributes to anger as a finger is pointed at certain groups of people, which then become scapegoats, which is exactly what happened in the 1930s, not just with the Jews, but also with homosexuals and transgender people. Because in the 1930s, as Hitler was coming to power, the Weimar Republic, as it was, or the Weimar period, saw a flourishing of gay culture. And there was scientific research on sexuality, which was taking place in Germany at the time under that government. And there was a lot of people who were advocating at the time for homosexual rights And a lot of that touched even then on transgender issues and visible queer nightlife. I know a little bit about the history surrounding that. I know that as the Nazis were coming to power, they used that as an issue to gin up a culture war within Germany and to create another group that they could point their fingers at and blame for all of the problems in Germany at the time. Therefore, they could screw things up, cause problems, but always blame somebody else. And at the time, and it also gives them a way to generate support for their political movement because it becomes a competition. It becomes something where you pick a side and you get people fighting. And so, of course, the people you want on your side, you want the majority of the people on your side. And so what they did at the time is they condemned all of this decadence as moral decay. Berlin was at the time portrayed by the Nazis as a city of sin. That's why later you got book burnings, censorship. Oh, there's a problem. We're going to fix it by locking you down or locking down your books and burning your books and telling you what to think and censorship. You have to think the right things, only the things we tell you to think. And so that's what they did. Berlin's cabaret scene, burlesque shows, prostitution, erotic publications, girly mags like Playboy of the time in Germany. My God, I probably would have gone to jail when I was a teenager for having the Playboy mags in the tents with my friends where we would trade them like other kids would trade baseball cards. And yet I think all the boys were doing things like that at the time because there was limited sexual education in the schools. We got it from Playboy. And sometimes from parents, if they weren't too embarrassed to talk about it. But I digress. This stuff, this all went on before. This is history rhyming, but it's amplified. I see it. Very few do. People know a little bit about pre-World War II and World War II history, but I think a lot of people don't realize that there's this cultural element to everything that brought Hitler to power. And it was a significant component because it's such a powerful thing. Human sexuality, religion, morality, combined with politics. Sex, religion, politics, how much more powerful can you get? You combine those things and you can manipulate people. You can put stuff in their heads. Oh, because you can twist their reality. And that was in 1930. A lot of this stuff, you know, all the prostitution, the erotic publications, it was emblematic of Weimar's permissive atmosphere at the time. Liberalism, right? Often exaggerated by the Nazis, though, in their rhetoric as evidence of societal breakdown. Premarital sex, sexual freedom, attacked, condemned as undermining traditional family values. Where am I hearing that today? Everywhere. The Nazis back then were promoting pro-natalist policies for Aryan families instead. Where am I seeing that kind of thing? Oh, clavicular. Aryan god that he is, isn't he? Oh, you think I'm exaggerating? Dig deeper. That's the messaging. It's just not overt. It's subsurface, but it's there. You can't just come out and say this stuff too loudly because people won't buy it. Because everybody knows the stories of Nazi Germany, so you have to package it differently. But that's what it is. I'm sorry to say. Back in the 30s, early 1930s, like around 33, when Hitler was actually coming to power in 33. Transgenderism, there was research and there were surgeries going on even back then. The Nazis vilified all of that as part of a broader degenerate science. And there was an institute, Hirschfield's Institute, which pioneered early transgender research. You know what the Nazis did? The Institute's library was burned in 1933. They burned all the books. Hell, they burned the whole library to the ground after Hitler was appointed chancellor. Gee, I don't know, this transgenderism thing, is it a new thing? Is it new? Is it a mental illness? If so, it's been around for a long time. I have to say, not in my wheelhouse. Not my life. I don't understand it. But I do understand anger and hate, and I understand media in ways the average person wouldn't, because I've worked in media all my life. I studied it. I went to school for it. I've lived it. I've been involved in it in one way or another since I was a child, making Super 8mm film, movies. From the time I was 9 to tonight, sitting here in this chair talking about AI, social media algorithms, and the repurposing of old propaganda, all designed to get us angry, get us out in the streets fighting with each other. And the hypocrisy, my God. You know, if you go back to the 1930s, the Nazis, they were very opposed to interracial sex. It was a core obsession at the time in Nazi ideology because they wanted racial purity tied to eugenics. And the thing is, I hear a lot of that same kind of rhetoric today as fingers are pointed at immigrants. And I understand you got to have secure borders. You need reasonable immigration levels. I can see how things became too extreme, as they tend to become. But it's how you deal with it, right? You don't want to become the monster that you say you're fighting. But interracial sex back in 1930, in the 1930s with the Nazis, that was all taboo. I hear a lot of that same stuff, but I was looking up stats before on what kind of pornography do people watch today. I think I'm not sure if it's number one, but I'm pretty sure that interracial sex, if it's not number one, it's number two in category of pornography that people consume online and watch. Oh, I think the other big one for all you anti-groomers and people who want to put all the pedophiles in prison, which I get. especially people who abuse their own children. As I understand it, it's the other top, one of the other top categories is videos that portray interfamily sex. True thing. Whatever, man. Okay. But that's what people are really doing out there. That tells you that's not just, on one side of the political aisle or the other. That's America. And that brings me back to I've been around so long because I remember 1970, I think it was, there was this Presidential Commission on Pornography and Obscenity. And they came out, I think Nixon was still in power at the time, and he publicly condemned the findings of that commission at the time, which said that they did not find any real causative harm between the pornography available at the time and society, and didn't result in any additional crimes or anything like that being committed by adults who were exposed to said pornography. Fast forward, the one that really sticks in my mind more is the Meese Commission around mid-80s, 85, 86. And that was another panel, a commission set up by Reagan at the time, where they kind of came up with the opposite conclusions of what the panel or commission said in 1970. It was all over the news at the time. I remember one of the people on the Meese Commission was Dr. I think it was James Dobson, and he just did a radio program at the time called Focus on the Family. I used to, as a young person, listen to him with his radio show on, I used to listen to the all news programs back in those days. And he of course, was on those kinds of stations, conservative side. So, everything's flipping and flopping, and there were all kinds of regulations aimed at the time against pornography because they were trying to control what you were seeing, what you're thinking. That's censorship in itself. And I remember at the time, you go to video stores, they would have adult sections. And in Ontario, every single movie had to have, I remember because I owned a video store, and all those videos had to have an Ontario approval number, Ontario Film Review Board. Yeah. OFRB. And you had, every one of those things had to have a license sticker on it. And all of it was censored. Every bit of it. None of the stuff that's available online. Then the internet came along and it changed everything, right? And now it's like this giant free-for-all. And while it's supposed to be aimed at adults, I guarantee you kids are seeing the stuff. I didn't know until just recently that the material was available on X. But it is. I guess it's been out there for quite a while. I understand why some people are becoming increasingly concerned about what's going on with Elon Musk's social media platform. Why? Isn't Pornhub enough for people? You got to have it on X too? I don't think you can get it on Facebook. I think that stuff gets you banned. I'm pretty sure you can't run it. You can't run it on YouTube, but on X you can. Isn't it strange how the guy who's so supportive of Trump as being part of his government ran Doge? These are all the people who are advocating, promoting traditional values, traditional family values. And yet these are the people who seem to be involved in promiscuity and promotion of smut on just a social media platform that's open for everyone, including children, who are, I guess, supposed to not have access to it. But probably do because they're probably misrepresenting their age. And these same people who advocate for the traditional values and are engaged in all this kind of activity go to Mar-a-Lago, and in a grotesque display of opulence and decadence, they have scantily clad women in burlesque style, giant, oversized champagne glasses spinning around and dancing burlesque style. And their names are all over the Epstein files. And they get their plastic surgery, and they get the wrinkles taken out of their foreheads, and they get their boobs enlarged, and then point their finger at somebody who dresses as a woman or gets some sort of surgical procedure to alter themselves in a way that they don't approve of. And so that's wrong, but it's okay to get your boobs lifted or to smash yourself in the face with a hammer to restructure your bones or inject yourself with steroids to build up muscles that are fake, and encourage other young people to do it and pay these young people to do this stuff so that your social media platform generates more and more and more engagement, not just for the live streamer and the young person doing this stuff, but for you, so that you profit. Because Elon Musk is selling us. We are the product. We're also the target. Just as the people in Myanmar were. Something ain't right out there. Something's really not right out there. These information, these psyops, this information war. Make no mistake, they can target an individual person. They have done it. I don't know why these people shot these kids at the school. I don't know why this person in Rhode Island did what they did. I'm not going to judge because I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because I don't know if they did it because they're just nuts, or if they did it because of whatever, or because they've been targeted somehow with social media content that has driven them around the bend. I'll tell you this, I know a lot of people around me who have suffered psychologically, mentally, emotionally, are suffering from mental health issues because of what has been done to us. We should not be so quick to judge when so many of us have been severely impacted by this kind of manipulation ourselves. You know it. I walk just on the street, I talk to people. People are not the same anymore. It's the drugs, it's the stress, it's the lockdowns, it's the constant bombardment online with messaging that puts us in confirmation bias echo chambers where we're being fed what they want us to consume. Who's they? I don't know. I have an idea. I don't think it's just one person, one government, one group. It's a combination. I think it depends on who you are, who's doing it to you, what companies are targeting you, which governments and why, which political groups. You think these people are all out in the streets fighting with each other just because? That's not what's going on in Iran right now. You've got a U.S. armada over there. You have people in the streets. You think those people are out there rising up against the government in Iran tonight just because? Organically? No, they're not. They've been told to do it, either directly or subconsciously or consciously, using very sophisticated psychological manipulation and targeting through social media. It's very effective. Canada's experiencing the same kinds of attacks. So is the United States. Most people just don't see it. The vast majority don't realize it's happening to them, to us. The U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee and reports from the FBI have detailed Russia's Internet Research Agency used fake social media accounts during the 2016 U.S. election to organize real-world protests and counter-protests, pitting groups against each other, urging attendance at fabricated events to stoke racial or political tensions or cultural tensions based on sexual politics. And it all included messaging that conditioned users to view elections as rigged, justifying unrest or violence. Not making this up. These are the findings of the Intelligence Committee and the FBI. The Doppelganger campaign, as it was called, cloned legitimate news sites to spread propaganda and incite division. I know it's happening. I know for a fact that tactic is being used right now. But it's not just Russia, it's China too. They have a vast network of fake accounts out there, which they use to harass dissidents, Chinese dissidents, some of them living in the United States and in Canada, spread threats of violence, incite protests. In Hong Kong, disinformation has painted protesters as violent, psychologically conditioning the public to support crackdowns on people the government doesn't like, or just people that they're using as scapegoats. Iran, they're involved in it too. That's a country that I never really thought of when considering all of this, but they are very active as well. And then the United States, of course, is involved in this stuff. U.S. agencies focus on countering foreign threats mostly. But, or so we're told, but we know they're definitely involved in this kind of manipulation and these psyops internationally, globally. I know, I can see it. It's happening in Canada right now. They're not even hiding it. What do you think the $500 million line of credit will be used for by the separatists in Alberta if that money comes through. You think they're just going to, I don't know, buy a bunch of campaign posters? The research out there there are sources like Mercy Corps and the UN International Crime and Justice Research Institute, and their research has shown that these operations exploit platform algorithms to spread content rapidly. And this all makes it very difficult to detect. You can't tell where this stuff is coming from. They often target marginalized communities. This is not me saying this. This is these studies. And it leads to disproportionate harm. It incites hate crimes, riots, and the live streamers, influencers who echo these messages, they're rewarded. You see, often the protests aren't started by these government intelligence agencies. They're just helped along with social media campaigns that are, or sometimes they are even created, the actual protests or other disruptive events. But mostly they just help them along. And if social media platforms say the right things, it's amazing how much will show up in your donation box or your super chat. Of course, you say the wrong things or things that they don't like, and your feed might get cut. Not saying that that's why my feed got cut last night, but one would wonder. So these tactics overall, I mean, they're well documented as being tools that are used for geopolitical influence, and ethical and legal boundaries, they've gone right out the window. Not supposed to use some of this stuff domestically. There are laws. You think that they're not? They use data harvesting and inference algorithms. They use indirect and proximal targeting. They use psychographic profiling and micro-targeting so that they can zoom right in on you and deliver very specific messaging to you. And it makes me wonder what has been planted in the head of someone who goes out and tries to assassinate a president. Did this person come up with this idea on their own? What is going on in the mind? And why? You got big data and now AI-driven tools. Bots, deepfakes, automated accounts, amplifying content. Algorithms ensure that you reach specific demographic groups. And then because these social media platforms have all the information on you, they can track you with your phone. They know where you go. They know what your age is. They know your sex or your gender or whatever. They know about your family. Why do you think Facebook wants you posting all the personal information about you and your family? Oh, it's all about friends. Yeah, they're not your friend, man. They want to know everything about you. What time you get up, what time you go to sleep, what you eat. They want to know what porn you watch, and they know everything. You think Google doesn't know? They know every freaking website, every photo you've ever looked at. And even if you're using Telegram or DuckDuckGo, it doesn't matter. They've got ways around all of it. They know. If they want to know, it's all accumulated. It's all being stored. They're not looking at you right now. You're just not that important until you are. Then when they want it, oh, they know everything about you. Apparently, we have some 6 million some documents, only half of which have been released on Epstein. How come so many? Because it's all digital. They know everything. Everybody's email messages, everything you've ever done, every time you've messaged somebody, every photo you've liked. It's all in there. The real culprits, the real criminals, the real offenders. It's all in there. We're going to get justice. Somehow I doubt it. We're going to get justice. For this, viewer discretion advised. You're going to get justice for that from Mark Zuckerberg, for what Facebook is responsible for in Myanmar. Nobody's done a thing. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Here's a survivor of that. This is recent. New. Still nothing. I've got the survivor. Let me take a quick break. We're going to come back. Just a couple more things before we wrap up tonight.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Here's a survivor of the Myanmar massacre, 2017, lost his family.
Mohammed Usman. I'm Burma Tulatulir.
This is Mohammed Osaman.
I
am from Tulai Toli village in Mangda, Myanmar. I was only 11 years old. When I fled my home, it escaped to Bangladesh. There were 7 members in my family. My 4 brothers and both of my parents were killed. I was the only one who survived. There was a small hamlet in my village where the Rakhine community lived. One evening, the military arrived and stationed themselves there. Next morning, they moved towards our area and started setting our homes on fire. They surrounded us and started killing the men with gunfire. Many children were thrown into the canal. They took all the women into a house and set it on fire. Five of us managed to jump into the canal and found a path into the nearby jungle. After some time, we returned to see what was happening. A military helicopter was flying overhead. We saw soldiers burning the bodies with petrol. We saw them taking some women as captives. We heard they were raped and killed. I fled to Bangladesh in 2017 with my uncle and lived with him at the refugee camp until I got married. Since then, I have been living a mostly peaceful life, but I still carry trauma. Even though I have my own family, I can't find peace without my parents. It has been 8 years now, and we have not received any justice. They killed my parents, my siblings, and my fellow villagers. All of them are Muslims. I want justice for them from the International Court of Justice. The facilities in the camp are minimal. We can eat and survive, but we have very little to live for, and there is no hope for the future. We no longer have a country or a home, but we still dream of returning to our country and living peacefully with full rights.
Don't miss out.
I'm glad I have a country. Still. For the moment. I think I've made my point. I was out walking with Cosmo, our Maverick mascot, my dog. Today. And I'm going to show you something here in a moment. I came across something. I came across these two little guys. You know, what was it? It was about, well, it would have been in the fall. It's probably October-ish, maybe November. Remember, I found that perfect maple leaf because it was perfect because it was so imperfect. And then today I was just walking along and I was just thinking, and the snow melted today for the first time here, and under the snow, I found these two little guys. You know, they just fell out of the tree back in the fall, and they've been covered up by the snow, but the snow is melting away now. We'll probably get more cover before the season is over, but winter's on the way out. But these guys made me think, these two little guys, they're hanging on, you know? They just they've been frozen, alone, under the snow. When I found them, they were saturated. They're all wet and soggy. And I brought them inside, and they're all warm now, but now they're brittle. And I thought, these two guys, they just don't want to go. They're hanging on. But you know, you can't hang on forever. We got to move ahead. And as much as I long for the before times, I realize today they're not coming back for me or for you or for these guys. At least not in my reality or in yours. But it's okay, because we can move on, right? All we got to do is just give them permission, you know? Because they're coming back. They're not really gone. They're just gonna change. Into something spectacular and new. They're going back into the earth. And I'm going to see these guys again real soon, because the weather's warming up. And they're going to be green and lush and part of something bigger. We get to choose, because we're human. We get to choose what comes next. And these guys, they didn't want to leave. They were hanging on. But I gave them permission just now. That's all they needed. And I will see you back here tomorrow in the future in God's matrix of reality. 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side. I'm sorry.
I walk this ground, I breathe this air, felt the sun burn gold into my hair. Laugh too loud, cry too deep, carry love and buried grief. Every heartbeat wrote my name in water, fire, dust and flame. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The body falls, but the soul won't rust. Everything that is always was. Everything that was always will be. I am not gone, I am just moving on. Scattered like seeds on an endless sea. I'm still me in God's matrix of infinity. There is nothing, nothing but possibilities. Watch me break, watch me spill across the rivers, over the hills. Carbon and water, light and heat. A billion new hearts will feel my beat. The tree will wear my skin as bark. The wind will sing my laugh in the dark. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I'm not ending, darling, I'm turning into us. Everything that is always was. Everything that was always will be. I am not gone, I am just moving on. Reborn in the roots of a cedar tree. I'm still me in God's matrix of infinity. There is nothing, nothing but possibilities. Was I ever here? Was any of this real? Did the light ever land on my face for real? Were these hands ever mine? This heart ever true? Then I remember the weight of loving you. The taste of salt from a tear I cried. The way the morning found me alive. I felt, I heard, I hoped, I tried. I think I was, and I will be again. What will I become? What will I be? Maybe rain that kisses the sea. Maybe a child's very first cry. Maybe the blue in somebody's sky. Something new, but always me. Because truth, because God has set me free. Everything that is always was. Everything that was always will be. I am not gone, I am just moving on. My thoughts still ripple, my love still runs through veins of strangers, through setting suns. I'm still me. Echoes in your memory, in God's matrix of infinity. There is nothing, nothing but possibilities. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I'm not leaving, I'm becoming us.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.